Hi there, it's Tiffany from Daisy Farm Crafts, and today I'm going to show you the techniques I've used to make, this is my Winter Tree Stripe Hotpad, and I have a new one for this year, the Candy Cane Stripe Hotpad. So I'm using the same techniques, same stitch in both of the hot pads. This year I've added a little pom-pom border around this one, and I think it looks really cute. The back is just all solid one color, and I'm just going to do a little quick tutorial for you to show you the stitch and how I'm carrying yarn across the back of this work and how to do the border. So let's get started. So for this project, you only need one each of these Lily Sugar and Cream. These are the 2.5 ounce size, and you'll need one of each color for each hot pad. So this green color is called Sage Green, and the red was just called red, and this one is white. And I am using the recommended hook size, which is an H 5mm hook. These are called my Susan Bates Comfort Grips, and I happens to be just a hook that fits my hand well, and that's what I like to use. Okay, so I'm just going to show you basically the stitch and how I'm carrying the yarn. You'll for sure want to get the pattern link down in the descriptions if you're only seeing this on YouTube, and you'll want to print a copy of the graph from off of our website and follow that along for the color changes. I also have it written out on the website too if you're more of that type that like to do that. But here's the graph that I'm talking about that you'll want to go print off for the Candy Cane Stripe. And then we have one for the Winter Tree Stripe too. So just put any amount of chains on your hook, and let's work. Always start into the third chain from the hook in this pattern. So there'll always be 2 chains for turning chains. So let's yarn over, insert our hook into the third chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, and for the herringbone half I'm going to continue pulling through the first loop, and then I'll yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops. Okay, so I get lots of questions about this stitch, so let me show you, and sometimes it just boggles your mind. It's one tiny little change from a double crochet. So in double crochet you would yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. But for herringbone, before we do that yarn over, we're going to continue to pull through that first loop, then yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, so it's really subtle. Now let me show you how to change color. I'll yarn over and I will pull through the first loop, and then I'll just stop right there. Now to introduce new color, all I'll do is just lay the new color over the hook and pull it through, just like that. Now you'll still want to give yourself a little bit of a longer tail. You'll weave that in later. Just keep it to the back of your work. Now in this hot pad, you'll always carry the white along with you, but you won't ever need to work over the red. So what I mean is that I'm laying this white strand across, let's say for the next 2-3 stitches. I'm working the herringbone stitch. Let's do it 2 times. Let's do 1 more. That should be fine. Okay, so say we follow the graph, it's time to switch back to white. I'm just going to definitely leave the red to the back of the work. This will be considered the inside of the hot pad, so always leave your red to the back of the work. And then your white is right there, ready to pull up and use. Okay, let's finish out these last 2 stitches in white. And like I said before, you'll always be chaining 2 and turning. And now I'm going to turn my work, and if you count down 1, 2, 3, maybe if you count down to the 3rd V, that's your first stitch of the row. So make sure that you that's the first stitch of the graph that you'll see. The turning 2 chains don't ever count as a stitch. So I'll yarn over, and I'm going to work right into that very first space. And this would be row 2 of the graph. So in row 2, or any even row, we're just going to work right across the work and get that stripe made. So I just want to work one more row for you and make sure you understand how I'm pulling up the yarn from the row below and just having it kind of crisscross across the back because it won't be seen. No need to carry it through the row like I do in my gingham blankets. Okay, I'm right here to the last stitch of the row. I'll chain 2 and turn. Okay, time to make our pretend candy cane here. 1, 2, 3 kind of is one way to help you. There's that stitch. Okay, and so the stitch before, that you need to say this one needs to work in red. So on the stitch before, just work half of that herringbone stitch. And now we'll carry the white to the front. It's kind of helpful to bring that to the front. And I'll come back here and I will find my red that I need. And I'll just go ahead, pull that up, pull it across the back of my work. Keep it really loose. I kind of adjust the tension, not too tight. Make sure this is kind of down. And now I'll work. And I still can work underneath that red in the back right there if you want to until it pulls too tight. It's totally fine, just to kind of secure it down. There's the red, but I am still going to work over the white so it's there for me on the other side. Make sure you can see I'm working under both loops. I am working underneath that carried yarn. And now we're done with the red. I'm just going to leave it to the back and pull through with the white. And that's basically it. There was just one small portion, where you drop the red, work for 3 stitches in the white and back to the red, and that's okay. You just don't need to crochet over the red or anything. I just carried across, and this doesn't show at all. All right, so once you follow the graph and you get this done, you're ready to do the border, and let me show you how that's done. All right, I have my border worked almost all the way around this red piece because I held off on combining these two together. But after you're done with the last row, all you'll do is chain 1 and turn and start working single crochet around the entire edge. You'll always work 3 single crochet into the corner spaces, but I've done something different in order to make this look a little bit neater, is that I have worked 2 single crochet into 1 stitch and then skipped a stitch. And so that helps us on the sides too. So this is the side of my work. And I have worked 2 single crochets around those turning chains, those chain 2 turning chains, and then skipped a row and then just worked into the turning chains again. So here's what I mean. This is a row and I'm skipping that row. I'm working single crochet around those turning chains, and they kind of pop out, so they're a little bit easy to see. You'll be able to see them because they kind of arc out from the sides of the work. The bottom and top are going to be a lot easier to find the stitches, but on the sides it can be a little bit tricky. Okay, and so this is my starting where I chained 1 and turned, worked a single crochet, and then started working 2 single crochets into the top of the stitch, you can see. So when I return, I've got 1 in there, so I've worked my final 2 to make it 3. Okay, and that's it. That's all you do. Now hold off on this. We don't want to tie off or anything, because now we're going to attach these 2 sides together. All right, so here's my first side, and make sure that the right side is facing you. This will be on the inside of the hot pad. And if your chain turned out over there, make sure you leave yourself a long loop. Go ahead and turn this hot pad over. It doesn't really matter. These are going to look the same on both sides. We're just going to make sure we match up that starting corner. Any of these stitches, we're just going to kind of match these up. And I'm going to insert my hook through the white one. And then I'm going to pull the red through. There we go. And then I just kind of changed. Now we're attached. We're attached right there. Now do your best lining them up, matching the stitches. And all we'll do is work single crochet and combine them together. So what I mean by that is that, if you can see, I'm inserting my hook under the 2 white loops, and then I'm finding the coordinating, matching 2 red loops or 2 little V's, whatever you want to call them, pulling through both of them, and then finishing the single crochet. And I'll work that all the way around, and when I get to the corner, I'll still work 3 single crochets into the corner stitch. So here I am. I've made it down to the corner here. I've got working underneath that one, pulling through. And what I mean by 3 times is I'll just go ahead and insert my hook into the stitch again, and 1 more time, and that helps get you around the corner. All right, I just worked that very last stitch, made my 3, because here's our starting one right here. So I went ahead and ended with 3 in the corner. One great thing about cotton is that, you know, you can really kind of stretch it and get it into place. And I was going to tell you, if you notice that on your sides, they were a little bit tight at first, just stretch them out, get them all nice and straight. I went ahead and, I like them a little bit tighter, especially on these sides. Then I feel like it kind of worked itself out and it stayed nice and straight. Ah, it's so cute. Okay, we're just going to continue around and start right away. Let's just slip stitch into that starting single crochet here, and let's go ahead and start with a palm. Now on this one, or oh gosh, what else have I called these? Puff stitch dots. This is what you do. I just did 2 chains is all this time. Yarn over, and in the very first chain that you made just under the top loop, we'll do 4 little, it's kind of a cluster, but then it turns into a dot. So I yarned over and pulled up a loop. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. That is number 2. Okay, here's number 3. And I did it for 4 times. It's okay to get that kind of stretched out. It'll go back down. Get this worked through. This is where my Susan Bates hook, I feel like, comes in handy because of that edge, hangs onto the yarn. Right into that stitch that you slip stitched into, let's lock this down with another slip stitch. And there's our first dot, and it kind of just lays right there on the border. Now I will slip stitch across or into the next 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let me show you that little pom-pom cluster dot, whatever you want to call it, one more time. I'm just doing 2 chains for this. I've done a version where I've chained up bigger. It just really depends on your yarn. With this cotton, 2 seemed plenty. Yarn over, inserting my hook, pulling up a loop. There's 1. I want it for a total of 4. Here's 2. Here's 3. Try and keep it a little bit loose. It's hard. And 4. Pull them through and lock it down. Working right back into that same stitch. There we go. Now, so it's almost like you've got 2 slip stitches and the puff all worked into that 1 stitch. Now let's move on over for 4. And that is all you're going to do. No, nothing special for the corners. Just work around. Nothing that you need any different. Don't need to work 3 or anything. Just slip stitch around. The only thing I would say is if towards you get to the end, you know, kind of look ahead. If it didn't work out that you've got exactly 3 slip stitches in between, you know, maybe slip stitch over only 3 times. And, you know, kind of look ahead to make it work. I'll show you what I mean on this, the one that I already did. Okay, so you've got these little dots that just work their way down the pad, and you'll just work your way around. When you get back to the start, just slip stitch to that and you're done. Tie off and weave in that end. Here's what I was saying on this one. You really can't tell, but there's only, was it this one? One of them, I think there was only 2 in between. I had to kind of estimate and make it work, but overall they look pretty even. So thank you so much. I hope this tutorial is helpful and can get you making these darling hot pads. Gift good size. They're about 8.5 by 8. Like I said before, everything is on Daisy Farm Crafts, and of course if you like just this plain look, don't bother doing those dots at all because that's really cute too. So everything, link in description. And come and show us your hot pads. Lots of people in the Daisy Farm Crafter group have already been making the winter stripe from a pattern that I've had on the website. It was made with different yarn, so the graph is just a bit different. And I wanted to tweak this in order to match the candy cane. So anyway, come and show us in that group. All right, you have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.